Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at noon.
Moorhead police used stop sticks and a pit maneuver to stop a chase in a stolen car. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Moorhead police tell us they tried pulling over 22-year-old Cassandra Perez, but she would not pull over. They say the car she was driving was reported stolen in Fargo. Officers eventually had to use stop sticks in that pit maneuver to stop Perez in the 1500 block of 30th Avenue South. Perez is now facing 2 felony charges of possession of a stolen vehicle and fleeing. And we have an update on the mama dog and her litter of pups who were found in a snow bank on the Red Lake Indian Reservation. Officials with the Red Lake Rosie's Rescue Shelter say a family discovered the dog with her 6 puppies in more than a foot of snow. The puppies were about 3 weeks old and hungry because the mother had stopped producing milk. Well, the shelter now tells us that the mom, named Snowbell, has now been fixed and her puppies are going to be adopted out. They also say after a few days of warm shelter and good food, Snowbell started producing lots of milk for her babies. We got some fresh snow this morning, but now the weather is pretty quiet as we move into our Monday afternoon. Let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Green to see what we can expect as the day goes on.
You're looking at more of the same. We're going to see those clouds hanging around, maybe a few flurries lingering, but overall our accumulating snow is done. And here's how much we saw as this moved through overnight last night and this morning. Edgeley, one of the top reports coming in at 2.7 inches, so between 2 and 3 inches in some spots. Detroit Lakes in Minnesota, we had several rounds of snow move through there, a little over 2 inches there. Akeley and Hubbard County about 2. Valley City a little over 1.5 inches, and right here in Fargo we had just under 1 inch of snow, so just enough to make those roads slick and coat them yet again here today. So here's a look at the latest radar and satellite map. The snow's moved on. There are still some flurries west of Devil's Lake, and we can't rule out a passing light flurry or even a snow shower heading into tomorrow. We'll talk more about that coming up, but overall we're looking at a quieting period here. There are some places where we're seeing some clearing up in the northeast, but overall looking at mostly cloudy skies right now. It's currently 22 degrees in Fargo, 20 in Grand Forks, not too bad out there, and temperatures heading into the afternoon generally in the teens and some 20s, and again mostly cloudy into tonight. We've got a big cool down but also a big warm up coming this week. We'll have details in just a few minutes.
Sounds great. Thank you, Lisa. More than 24 hours later, the Grand Forks Fire Marshal is still on the scene of an apartment fire. 2 people in that apartment complex were transported to Altru Hospital, but their conditions are not known right now. The fire happened around 2:30 yesterday morning on the north side of Grand Forks. Firefighters say when they pulled up, they found flames and smoke pouring from the complex. They rushed to evacuate everyone from the building. The fire quickly spread throughout the building, but fire investigators are not yet saying how it started. And we're still waiting on confirmation on the identity of a body that was found after a house fire in rural Grand Forks. The fire broke out around 2 Saturday morning inside a home in the 8200 block of North 52nd Street. Grand Forks County deputies say the body was discovered inside after the fire was put out. The cause of the fire is still also under investigation. 5 people are recovering from injuries after a 2-car crash in the Southern Valley. It happened yesterday on Highway 13 near Morton, North Dakota. Police say 19-year-old Christina Zink was attempting to make a U-turn when her car was hit by a pickup. Both vehicles are totaled, but no one was seriously hurt in that crash. Mom's Diner along Main Avenue near downtown Fargo has closed its doors. A sign on the door suggests there weren't enough customers to keep things going. And now the owners say they will focus their efforts on Tailgaters, which is next door. The company also posted to Facebook that they hope to repurpose the space in the future. Hundreds of Americans are back on U.S. soil today, nearly a month after boarding the now quarantined Diamond Princess. Their flights were supposed to be free of the coronavirus. 14 tested positive, and they're among the rest of the passengers that will remain in quarantine. Sarah Harmon is at the Travis Air Force Base with the latest.
This morning, hundreds of Americans who were quarantined on the Diamond Princess cruise ship are back on U.S. soil. 2 chartered flights from Japan touching down overnight at Air Force bases in Texas and California. The flights were not supposed to include any passengers affected by the coronavirus, but the State Department has now revealed 14 people who tested positive were allowed to travel. They spent the more than 12-hour flight in isolation chambers seen here, filmed by passenger Cheryl Molesky. After nearly 2 weeks in quarantine, she and her husband decided it was time for their extended vacation to come to an end.
Honestly, you're much safer getting off this ship.
The Moleskys were evacuated by American teams in hazmat suits.
The bus will take you to the airplane takes you to the United States, and then you get your passport.
Well, we're exhausted, but we're on the plane.
NBC's Janice Mackey-Freyer is in Yokohama, Japan.
There are still some Americans on the ship who chose to not get on that flight. They're among some 3,000 passenger and crew who will remain under quarantine until Wednesday, and only when they test negative for the virus will they be allowed off the ship.
Among the Americans who chose to stay on board, Matthew Smith.
The U.S. offer was break this quarantine early, get into a bus with a bunch of other people.
The passengers that are infected will be treated at a hospital. Everyone else is subject to a mandatory 14-day quarantine with regular health checks. It's been almost a month since these people initially set sail on their cruise. In our consumer news this afternoon, Facebook has quietly released a new app that looks a lot like Pinterest. Reports say Hobby is a photo sharing app, and according to its page in the App Store, you can capture and organize your creative process, like cooking, baking, arts and crafts. It organizes photos of projects into collections so users can track their progress over time. Hobby doesn't have a social sharing feature, but it can be used to create videos of projects after they're finished. Kellogg's Incognito brand will launch meatless pork products this summer, following the lead of Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. Incognito is part of the company's Morningstar Farms line. It's unveiling 2 new products, soy-based bratwurst and Italian sausage, which will be in grocery stores in June. Kellogg isn't the only traditional food company expanding into meat alternatives. Nestle, Hormel, and Smithfield are also creating their own products to reach people looking to reduce their meat intake. Changes have been made that could have a profound impact on whether you can get a loan to buy a house, car, or another big-ticket item. The details this afternoon from Chris Clackham.
Suffice it to say, your FICO credit score is one of the most important numbers in your financial life.
This is used in about 90% of lending decisions. It's going to determine whether or not you get that loan or line of credit in the first place, and if you do, the interest rate you'll pay.
But now the way your FICO score is determined has changed to what they call trended data. An example, if it's just 1 month out of 12 where your spending is well above normal.
Could be a vacation, could be holiday shopping, back to school shopping.
Then it's not going to hurt your credit rating. But fall behind paying your bills 3 or 4 months in a row, get ready to pay more.
Your debt's creeping up. You're starting to fall behind on your bills. Trended data is going to penalize somebody like that.
And according to creditcard.com's Ted Rossman, you'll pay a lot more.
I mean, even on a $200,000 mortgage, we could be talking a difference of $25,000 over 30 years.
He says the best way to avoid a hit from the changes, pay your bills on time. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
Coming up at noon, robots